I stood there, my hand trembling around a glass of lukewarm champagne, watching my own son point a finger at the man I had just married. The bubbles in the glass had long since gone flat, much like the hope in my chest. "Look at him," Darius shouted. His voice slurred just enough to let everyone in the rented hall know he'd had too much of the open bar. "Mom, seriously? You really scraped the bottom of the barrel this time. Look at his shoes. Did he pull those out of a dumpster on the way here?" The ballroom erupted in laughter. It wasn't happy laughter, honey. It wasn't the kind of warm, rippling sound you want to hear when two souls join together before God. No, this was cruel laughter. It was sharp and cold. Tasha, my daughter-in-law, was cackling so hard she spilled her red wine onto the white tablecloth, staining it like a wound. I looked at Elias, my sweet, quiet Elias. He was standing next to me in his worn-out tweed suit, the one with the elbow patches that he had brushed so carefully just that morning. He didn't look angry. He didn't clench his fists or shout back. He just looked sad. Not for himself, but for me. His blue eyes, usually so bright with mischief, were dim, filled with a quiet sort of pity that broke my heart more than the insults did. Darius grinned, feeling the power of the room. He liked an audience. He always did, ever since he was a little boy performing magic tricks in our living room. But the magic was gone now.
"We all know why he's here, Mom," Darius sneered, gesturing with his glass. "He's looking for a nurse and a purse. Well, newsflash, old man. There's no money left. This isn't a retirement fund. It's a charity case. I wanted the floorboards to open up and swallow me whole. I wanted the roof to cave in. Anything to stop the sound of my son's voice tearing apart the only happiness I had found in 20 years. But I didn't know then that the Lord works in mysterious ways. I didn't know that in about 5 minutes, Darius would be the one wishing he could disappear off the face of the earth. Hello, dear listeners. Thank you for joining me today. Before I begin my story, I would be very happy if you subscribed to the channel and left a comment writing which state or country you are listening from. It always warms my heart to see how far our stories travel. Enjoy listening. Let me take you back a bit. We need to go back before the shouting, before the wine stains, before the heartbreak. You need to understand the road we walked to get to that terrible moment, because you can't truly appreciate the sunshine until you've stood in the pouring rain without an umbrella. My name is Eleanor. Most folks around here just call me Ellie. I've spent 61 years on this earth, breathing in the dust of this small town, and for about 38 of those years, my whole world, my entire universe, revolved around one person, my son, Darius. When his father passed away, Darius was just a baby in diapers. I was 23, terrified and alone. I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have a savings account. I had a high school diploma, a strong back, and a heart full of fear. But I made a promise to that little boy in the crib. I looked at his sleeping face, so peaceful, and I whispered, "You will never know what it means to be hungry. You will never know what it means to be cold." And I kept that promise, honey. Lord knows I kept it. I scrubbed floors at the bank downtown until my knees were bruised black and blue. I waited tables at the diner on the highway, smiling at rude truckers who tipped in nickels just so I could buy Darius the brand name sneakers all the other kids were wearing. I worked double shifts at the hospital laundry, folding sheets that smelled of bleach and sickness, steaming my hands until they were raw, just to make sure he had a debt-free college education. I remember one winter, the heating bill was so high I couldn't pay it and buy groceries in the same week. So I turned the heat off in my bedroom and slept in a winter coat under 3 blankets, shivering until my teeth rattled. But I kept the heat on in Darius's room. He slept warm. He never knew. He woke up to hot oatmeal and a smile every single morning. I thought I was being a good mother. I thought sacrifice was the same thing as love. But looking back, with the clarity that only age can give you, I think I loved him too much. Or maybe I loved him the wrong way. I shielded him from the struggle.
I never let him see me cry over unpaid bills. I never let him see the eviction notices that I frantically paid off at the last second. I paved the road for him so smoothly that he never learned how to walk on rocky ground. By the time Darius was 35, he wasn't that sweet boy in the crib anymore. He was a successful real estate agent in the city. He drove a shiny black Mercedes that hummed like an angry cat. He wore Italian suits that cost more than my car, and he had married Tasha. Oh, Tasha. She was a beautiful woman, I'll give her that. She had hair like spun gold and a smile that could sell ice to an Eskimo. But she was cold, honey. Cold as a winter draft coming through a cracked window. They rarely visited me. The town was too slow for them. My house was too small. When they did visit, it was usually because they needed something. A co-signature on a loan because their credit was tied up in investments, free babysitting for their poodles when they went to Bali, or just to sit on my fraying beige sofa, drinking my coffee and bragging about their lives. "You really need to update this place, Mom," Darius would say, looking at my wallpaper. "It smells like old people." "It smells like home, Darius," I would say softly. "Yeah, well, home needs a renovation," he'd reply, checking his expensive watch. "Anyway, we can't stay long. We have a dinner reservation at Chez Maurice." I would watch them drive away, feeling a hollow ache in my chest. I felt like a husk, like I had poured everything I had into this boy, and now that I was empty, he had no use for me. Then I met Elias. It wasn't a grand meeting. There were no fireworks. The earth didn't shake. It was at the community garden on a Tuesday morning. I was planting tomatoes, trying to get my mind off the fact that Darius hadn't called me for my birthday the day before. I was struggling with a heavy bag of soil, my back complaining, when a shadow fell over me. "Let me get that for you, ma'am," a voice said. I looked up. There stood Elias. He was wearing an old flannel shirt with a patch on the elbow, the same one he'd wear to our wedding later, and boots that looked like they had walked across the entire country. He had gray hair that stuck up in funny places and a smile that reached all the way to his eyes. He lifted that 50-pound bag like it was a feather. "Where do you want it?" he asked. "Just right there by the trellis," I stammered. "Thank you." "I'm Elias," he said, wiping his hands on his jeans. "I'm new here, just took over the plot next to yours. I'm trying to grow pumpkins, but I think the squirrels are winning the war." I laughed. It was the first time I had laughed in weeks. "Pepper," I said. "Sprinkle cayenne pepper on the leaves. They hate the spice." He looked at me with genuine admiration. "Is that so? Well, aren't you a font of wisdom? I'm going to try that." We started talking, just simple things at first. The weather, the best way to keep aphids off the roses, the price of eggs at the market. Elias was different from any man I had met in a long time. He was kind. He listened. He didn't interrupt me to talk about himself. He didn't check a phone every 2 minutes. When I spoke, he looked at me like I was the only person in the garden. We started meeting for coffee at the diner down the street. He drove a rusty old pickup truck, a Ford from the 80s that rattled when it idled and puffed a little cloud of blue smoke. He told me he was retired. "I used to work in logistics," he said one day, stirring his black coffee. "Moved things from point A to point B. It was stressful. Deadlines, noise, constant pressure. When my wife passed, well, I decided I was done with the noise. I wanted a simple life." "I understand that," I said. "Simple is good." "It is," he nodded. "I don't have much, Ellie. Just my truck, my little rental cottage by the lake, and my books. But I have peace, and lately I have you." My heart did a little flip like a schoolgirl's. I fell in love with his soul, honey, not his wallet. I fell in love with the way he helped old Mrs. Higgins cross the street.
I fell in love with the way he would bring me wildflowers he picked from the roadside. 6 months later, he proposed. It wasn't in a fancy restaurant.
We were sitting on a park bench, eating sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. He pulled a small, simple gold band out of his pocket. "It belonged to my grandmother," he said, his hands shaking a little. "It's not much. It's not a big diamond like you see in the magazines, but it comes with a promise. I promise to love you, to honor you, and to make you laugh every single day until the Lord calls me home. Will you marry me, Ellie?" I cried. I said yes. When I called Darius to tell him the news, I expected him to be happy for me. I hoped he would be happy for me. "You're doing what?" Darius asked, his voice flat. I could hear the TV blaring in the background. "I'm getting married, Darius. His name is Elias. He's a wonderful man." "Is he the guy with the beat-up truck I saw in your driveway last time?" Darius scoffed. "The gardener?" "He's retired, Darius. And yes, he gardens." "Mom, be serious," he groaned. "You're 61. Why are you getting married? And to a guy like that? He looks like he can't even afford a haircut. You're going to end up supporting him with your Social Security checks. Is that what you want? To be a nursemaid to some broke old guy?" "He makes me happy, Darius," I said firmly, gripping the phone tight. "That's all that matters. And I'm not asking for your permission. I'm inviting you to the wedding."
"Yeah, whatever," he muttered. "Just don't expect Tasha and me to pay for anything. We're tight right now. Cash flow issues with the new boat." Tight. That was his favorite word, yet they had just bought a boat. I hung up the phone and cried for 10 minutes. Then I wiped my face, put on my lipstick, and went back to planning my wedding. I paid for everything myself. It was small. We rented the VFW hall at the edge of town. It wasn't the Ritz-Carlton, but we decorated it with white lights and wildflowers from the garden. It smelled of potpourri and old wood. I bought my dress off the rack at a department store, a lovely cream-colored lace suit. Elias wore the only suit he owned, that beige tweed one. The day of the wedding started beautifully. The sun was shining, the birds were singing in the oak trees. I felt light. I felt seen. But the moment Darius and Tasha arrived, the air in the room changed. It got heavy. It got toxic. They pulled up in the parking lot in that black Mercedes, parking diagonally across 2 spaces so no one would scratch their doors. They walked into the hall like they were royalty visiting a slum. Tasha was wearing a designer dress that cost more than my entire wedding budget. She looked around at the streamers and the homemade centerpieces and actually wrinkled her nose. "Oh, wow," I heard her whisper to Darius. "It's charming, in a rustic, poverty-chic kind of way." They sat at the front table, isolating themselves from the other guests.
My friends, teachers, nurses, neighbors tried to say hello, but Darius and Tasha just gave them tight, fake smiles and turned away. Tasha's family had come too, her mother and 2 sisters. They sat in the corner, whispering behind their hands, pointing at Elias's friends, who were simple, hard-working folk in flannel and denim. I tried to ignore it. I really did. I tried to focus on Elias, whose hands were warm in mine when we said our vows. I tried to focus on the pastor's words about love being patient and kind. But you can't ignore a storm when it's breaking right over your head. The reception began. We had a buffet, potato salad, roast chicken, green beans, good, honest food. I saw Darius poking at the chicken with his fork like it was contaminated. Then came the speeches. The best man, an old friend of Elias named Bob, gave a sweet, short toast. He talked about how Elias was the most honest man he knew. Then Darius stood up. He walked to the microphone, swaying slightly. He had a glass of scotch in his hand, expensive scotch he had brought himself because the swill at the bar was undrinkable. He tapped the microphone. Thump, thump. The feedback squealed, making everyone wince. "Testing, testing," he said, looking around the room with glazed eyes. "Well, here we are. Another one bites the dust, huh?" The crowd chuckled nervously. It was an awkward sound. "You know," Darius continued,
pacing back and forth like a comedian on stage.
I always thought my mom would find someone respectable, you know? Someone who could at least match her 401k. Tasha giggled loudly. But I guess, Darius shrugged, when you get to a certain age and the options are drying up, you can't be choosy. You take what you can get, even if what you get looks like he just walked off a farm. My heart started to pound in my chest. It was a heavy, thudding rhythm. I looked at Darius, my son, the boy I had held when he had fevers, the boy I had taught to ride a bike, and I didn't recognize him. "Darius, sit down," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "Please." He ignored me. He turned his body toward Elias. He looked him up and down with pure contempt. "Hey, Pops," Darius said, his voice dripping with venom. "Tell me the truth. We're all friends here. You're just here for the free meal, aren't you? You saw a lonely old lady with a paid-off house and thought, jackpot." That was the moment the music stopped. That was the moment the world stood still. "I mean, look at this spread," Darius gestured to the buffet. "Potato salad? Really? It fits the groom perfectly. Cheap, bland, and filling." He laughed again, and that's when he pointed at the shoes. That's where we started this story. "Look at those shoes, holes in the soles." The laughter from Tasha's table was like knives. I saw Elias's hand twitch. He didn't look at Darius. He looked at me, and in his eyes I saw a question. "Are you going to let them do this to us?"
I realized then that I had spent my whole life protecting Darius. I had protected him from the cold, from hunger, from failure, but I had never protected him from his own ego. I had never taught him that actions have consequences. And now, on the most important day of my later life, I had a choice. I could stay silent and keep the peace, like I always did. Or I could finally be a mother, not the mother who coddles, but the mother who teaches. The silence in that hall was deafening. It wasn't peaceful silence. It was the kind of silence that comes right before a tornado touches down. It was the silence of a bridge about to snap. I pushed my chair back. The legs scraped against the wooden floor, a harsh sound that made Tasha stop giggling. I stood up. My knees were shaking, but my spine was steel. I took a breath, inhaling the scent of the cheap coffee and the expensive perfume of my daughter-in-law. "Darius," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a razor blade. He looked at me, smirking. "What, Mom? Gonna give a speech too?" "No," I said. "I'm giving an order."
"No," I said, my voice steady despite the hurricane raging in my chest. "I'm giving an order." Darius blinked, confused. He lowered his glass slightly, the smirk faltering just a fraction of an inch. "What?" "Get out," I said. The words hung in the air, suspended there like storm clouds. "You heard me," I said, louder this time, letting the anger finally rise up from my belly. "You, your wife, and her entire nasty whispering family. Get out of my wedding, now." The room gasped. I saw old Mrs. Gable cover her mouth with her napkin. Tasha's eyes went wide, her jaw dropping open. "You can't kick us out," Tasha shrieked, her voice pitching up so high it hurt my ears. She stood up, knocking her chair over. "This is humiliating. Do you know who we are?" "I know exactly who you are," I snapped, stepping out from behind the head table. "You are rude, ungrateful children. You come here, into my celebration, eat my food, drink my wine, and insult the man I love? I raised you better than this, Darius. I scrubbed toilets so you could learn manners, but clearly I failed." Darius's face turned a deep, ugly shade of red. The embarrassment was setting in, but his pride was fighting it. "Mom, you're being dramatic. It's a roast. It's funny." "It is not funny," I yelled, slamming my hand on the table. The silverware jumped. "Calling a good man trash is not funny. Mocking poverty is not funny. It is cruel, and I will not have cruelty at my table. Go."
before I call the police and have you escorted out for trespassing." Darius stared at me. He had never seen me like this. For 38 years, I was the soft place to land. I was the yes man. I was the open wallet. He didn't know how to handle the wall I had just built. "Fine," Darius shouted, throwing his napkin on the floor. "Have it your way. Choose him over your own flesh and blood. See if I care." He grabbed his coat, nearly ripping it off the back of the chair. Tasha was already gathering her purse, muttering curses under her breath. Her family was scrambling up, looking offended and scandalized. Darius stopped at the door, turning back for one last strike, one last attempt to hurt me. "Enjoy your life with this loser, Mom," he spat, pointing a shaking finger at Elias. "But don't come crying to me when he drains your bank account and leaves you for a younger waitress. Don't come crawling back to me when you're broke and alone." He turned to leave, his hand on the brass handle of the exit door. Wait. It was just one word, spoken softly, but with such immense weight that it stopped Darius in his tracks. It wasn't me who spoke. It was Elias. Elias hadn't moved during my outburst. He had stood beside me, a silent pillar of support. But now he stepped forward, and something about him had changed. The slump in his shoulders was gone. The shy, gentle gardener who talked about aphids and pumpkins had vanished. In his place stood a man of stature. He buttoned his tweed jacket with a slow, deliberate movement. He adjusted his cuffs. He didn't look like a man wearing a cheap suit anymore. He looked like a man who could make a cheap suit look expensive just by wearing it. His blue eyes, usually so warm, were now cold, ice cold. They were the eyes of a man who had stared down unions, negotiated mergers, and broken competitors. "Before you leave, Darius," Elias said, his voice deep and resonant, echoing off the walls of the hall, "there is something you should know." Darius rolled his eyes, his hand still on the door. "Oh, save it, old man. What are you going to do, read me a poem?" Elias didn't take the bait. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket. I held my breath. Was he reaching for a weapon? A handkerchief? He pulled out a phone. It wasn't the cracked flip phone he usually carried. This was a sleek, ultra-modern smartphone, the kind that costs $1,000. He tapped the screen once, put it to his ear, and stared directly at Darius. "James," Elias said into the phone, "bring the car around and call the airport. Tell the pilot to prep the G650. We'll be leaving for the honeymoon in 20 minutes. He hung up and slid the phone back into his pocket. The silence that followed was different this time. It wasn't awkward. It was confused. It was the silence of people trying to process something that didn't make sense. Darius laughed. It was a nervous, jagged sound. "Jet? Pilot?" "What are you talking about? You're delusional, Pops. Did you forget to take your meds today?" Tasha snickered. "Maybe he thinks his tractor is a jet." Elias ignored them. He turned to me. He took both of my hands in his. His palms were warm, steady. He looked into my eyes, and I saw the apology there. "Ellie, my love," he said softly, "I owe you an apology. I haven't been entirely truthful with you." My stomach dropped. The room started to spin a little. "Elias, what is going on?" "I told you I worked in logistics," he said. "That is true, I did. But I didn't just work there." He took a deep breath. "I founded a shipping company called Global Transatlantic 40 years ago. We handle about 30% of the freight that moves across the Pacific Ocean." I heard a gasp from the back of the room. It was sharp, loud. I looked over. It was one of Tasha's sisters, the one who had been on her phone the whole time. She was staring at her screen, her face pale as a sheet. She looked up at Elias, then back at her phone, then at Elias again. "Oh my God," she whispered. Her voice carried in the silent room. "It's him." "Who?" Tasha demanded, looking annoyed. "Who is he?" Tasha, shut up, the sister hissed. She stood up, holding her phone out like it was a holy relic. It's Elias Thorne, the billionaire. I just Googled him. He's on the cover of Forbes from 3 years ago. Net worth? $2.4 billion. $2.4 billion. The numbers floated in the air. I couldn't comprehend them. Billion with a B. Darius froze. His hand fell off the door handle.
His face went from red to a ghostly, sickly white. He looked at Elias, really looked at him for the first time. "The Elias Thorne?" Darius stammered. His voice was small now, weak. "The venture capitalist? The guy who bought out— Wait, you own the building my firm is in?" "I own the city block your firm is in," Elias corrected him calmly. "And the bank that holds your mortgage, and likely the company that manufactured the car you drove here in." My knees gave out. I would have fallen if Elias hadn't caught me. He held me tight, his arm like an iron band around my waist. "Why?" I whispered, looking up at him. "Why didn't you tell me? Why the truck? Why the tweed suit?" Elias smiled, a sad, weary smile. "Ellie, I lost my first wife to cancer 10 years ago. It broke me. But what broke me even more was what happened after. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be my friend. Women half my age threw themselves at me. Distant cousins I'd never met asked for loans. Charities, politicians, salesmen, they all wanted a piece of Elias Thorne." He brushed a stray hair from my face. "They didn't see me," he said. "They saw the zeros in my bank account. They saw the yacht. They saw the power. I was lonely, Ellie, so incredibly lonely in a room full of people. So," he continued, "when I moved to this town, I decided to run an experiment. I bought a small cottage. I bought that terrible old truck. I wanted to see if I could find someone who would love me for the man I am. Not for what I can buy them. Not for the status." He kissed my knuckles, right over the simple gold band he had given me. And I found her. I found a woman who loved me when my hands were covered in dirt. A woman who defended me when I looked like a pauper. You are the richest thing I have ever found, Eleanor. I started to cry, not out of sadness, but out of relief, out of love. But the moment was interrupted. "Dad!" Darius took a step forward. The venom was gone from his voice. The arrogance had evaporated. In its place was a desperate, oily charm. He put a fake smile on his face, the same smile he used to sell houses to people who couldn't afford them. "Dad! Elias! Wow!" Darius breathed, walking back toward us, his arms open. This is incredible. Why didn't you say something? Man, you really got us. What a prank!" Tasha rushed over too, pushing Darius aside slightly. She smoothed her hair, fixing her makeup in a split second. "Oh, Elias, we didn't know. We're so sorry. You know how stress gets to people. Weddings are so crazy. We were just blowing off steam." They stood there, beaming at him, expecting him to laugh, expecting him to say, "It's okay, kids. I understand. Here's $1 million." Elias didn't smile. He didn't open his arms. He looked at them with a mixture of pity and absolute disgust. "I was prepared to give you the world, Darius," Elias said. His voice was quiet, but it hit harder than a scream. "I know you've been struggling," Elias continued. "I know about the lifestyle you try to maintain. I bought a house in the Hollywood Hills, 6 bedrooms, pool, view of the city. It was going to be a wedding gift for you and Tasha." Darius's eyes widened. They practically bulged out of his head. "A house? In the hills?" "I have the keys right here in my pocket," Elias said, tapping his jacket. "I was going to hand them to you during the toast. I was going to pay off your mortgage. I was going to set up a trust fund for your future children." Darius was salivating. I could see the greed washing over him, erasing any shame he might have felt.
That's amazing, Elias. Thank you. But Elias cut him off. That was for the son of the woman I love. That was for a man who treated his mother with respect. That was for a man who had kindness in his heart. Elias shook his head slowly. I didn't see that man today. I saw a bully. I saw a coward who kicks people when he thinks they are down. Wait, Darius said, his smile faltering. What are you saying? The house, Elias said slowly, enunciating every syllable, has been donated to the Veterans Support Foundation. I texted my attorney while you were making your speech. The deed has been transferred. It's gone. What? Darius screamed. It was a guttural sound. You can't do that. That's my house. It was never your house, Elias said coldly.
And frankly, looking at you now, I don't think you deserve a tent, let alone a mansion. And speaking of what you deserve, Elias said, his eyes narrowing, my team did a little due diligence on you, Darius. It's standard procedure for anyone entering my inner circle. Elias reached into his pocket again. This time, he pulled out a folded piece of paper. Darius saw the paper and went pale again. He knew what was on it. You're in trouble, aren't you, son? Elias asked.
You're in trouble, aren't you, son? Elias asked. He unfolded the paper. The sound of that crisp paper opening was like a gunshot in the quiet room. My lawyers found some interesting things, Elias said, reading from the document. You drive a Mercedes, but you're 3 months behind on the payments. You live in a penthouse, but you're facing eviction next week. Darius was shaking now, visibly shaking. Sweat was beading on his forehead, ruining his expensive spray tan. That's not true. It's just a cash flow thing. I'm waiting on a commission checks. And, Elias interrupted, his voice growing harder, it seems you've been trying to plug the holes in your sinking ship with money that doesn't belong to you. Elias looked up, locking eyes with Darius. You've been borrowing from your firm's escrow account, nearly $200,000 of client money. That's not just debt, Darius. That's embezzlement. That's a federal crime. That's prison time. The word prison hung in the air. Tasha gasped. She stepped away from Darius like he was contagious. You stole money? Darius, you told me we were rich. You bought me a Rolex last week. I did it for you, Darius screamed at her, his facade finally cracking completely. I did it because you spend $10,000 a month on clothes. I did it because nothing is ever enough for you. Don't you blame this on me, Tasha shrieked. I'm the victim here. Enough, Elias barked. The room fell silent again. The total debt, Elias said, looking at the paper, including the gambling debts and what you stole, is just under $2 million. Darius looked at the floor. He looked small, broken. The arrogant man who had laughed at Elias's shoes was gone. In his place was a terrified boy. I can fix it, Darius whispered, but he knew he couldn't. I could write a check right now, Elias said softly. He pulled a checkbook from his inner pocket. It was a simple leather-bound book. I could clear this entire debt. I could pay back your firm before they file charges. I could wipe the slate clean. It wouldn't even dent my savings. Darius's head snapped up. Hope, desperate and wild, flooded his eyes. He fell to his knees. I mean that literally, honey. My son, the man who thought he was a king, dropped to his knees on the dirty wooden floor of that VFW hall. He crawled a few inches toward Elias. Yes, please, Darius begged, tears streaming down his face. Dad, Elias, please, I don't want to go to jail. I'll do anything. I'll be your servant. I'll mow your lawns. Just please, don't let me go under. We're family, right? Family helps each other. Elias looked down at him. He didn't write the check. He didn't put the pen to paper. Instead, he turned his head and looked at me. Ellie, Elias said gentle, it's your call.
My breath caught in my throat. "He is your son," Elias said. "If you ask me to pay this, I will do it. For you."
I will save him right now. Just say the word. The room spun. All eyes were on me. I looked at Darius. He was looking at me with those big, wet eyes, the same eyes that used to look at me from the crib. "Mommy, help me. Mommy, fix it." Every instinct in my body screamed, "Save him." That's what mothers do, right? We fix things. We kiss the boo-boos. We pay the bail. We sacrifice our own peace so our children don't have to suffer. I had done it for 38 years. But then I looked at Tasha, who was checking her reflection in a spoon, already calculating her exit strategy. I looked at the guests who had been moked. I looked at Elias, the man who had been called trash. And I realized something terrifying. If I saved him now, I would destroy him. If I bailed him out, he would never learn. He would never grow. He would continue to treat people like dirt, thinking that money would always appear to clean up his mess. He would stay a child forever. Love isn't always about saving people, honey. Sometimes love is about letting them fall so they can learn how to stand up on their own. I took the deepest breath of my life. It felt like inhaling broken glass. "No," I said. Darius froze. "What?" "No," I repeated, my voice cracking but firm. "Do not pay it, Elias." Darius looked at me like I had just stabbed him. Mom, are you crazy? They'll put me in jail. I'll lose everything."
"You already lost everything, Darius," I said, tears finally spilling onto my cheeks. "You lost your integrity. You lost your kindness. You lost yourself." I stepped closer to him. I wanted to hug him, but I kept my hands at my sides. "I love you," I said. "I will always love you. You are my heart, but I have been crippling you with my help. I paved the road so smooth you never learned to watch your step. I won't do it anymore." "Mom, please," he sobbed. "You made your bed, Darius," I said. "Now you have to lie in it. You need to learn what it means to be a man, and a real man pays his own debts. A real man faces his consequences." I turned to Elias. "Let's go." Elias nodded. He put the checkbook away. He put his arm around me, shielding me from the sight of my son sobbing on the floor. We walked out of the hall. The double doors swung open, and the fresh air hit my face. It smelled of rain and freedom. A sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom was waiting at the curb. It was massive, shining under the streetlights. A driver in a crisp uniform opened the back door. "Mrs. Thorne," the driver said, bowing his head. I got in. The seats were soft leather. The air was cool. Elias slid in beside me and took my hand. As the car pulled away, I looked out the back window. I saw Darius running out of the hall, chasing the car for a few steps before stopping. He stood there in the parking lot, alone, as his wife's car sped away in the opposite direction. I cried for an hour.
Elias just held me. He didn't say a word. He knew that sometimes a heart has to break before it can heal. That was 6 months ago. Life looks very different now. Elias and I spent a month in Italy for our honeymoon, but we didn't stay in those gold-plated hotels. We rented a little farmhouse in Tuscany. We cooked our own pasta. We drank wine on the porch, watching the sunset over the olive groves. Elias really is just a simple man at heart. He's donated millions to the local hospital and started a scholarship fund for kids who want to go to trade school. He uses his money to build, not to buy. As for Darius, well, karma is a stern teacher, but she is thorough. Tasha filed for divorce 3 days after the wedding. She took the dogs and whatever cash was left in the safe. She didn't stick around for the hard times. Last I heard, she's dating a plastic surgeon in Miami. Good luck to him. Darius hit rock bottom, hard. He lost the penthouse, he lost the Mercedes, he lost his job. The embezzlement charges were looming, but Elias did one kindness. He hired a good lawyer to negotiate a plea deal. Darius avoided prison, but he has to pay back every single cent, plus interest and fines. He's on probation for 5 years. He was homeless for a few weeks, sleeping on a friend's couch until the friend got tired of him. But then something happened. Without his money, without his suits, without his arrogance, Darius started to change. He got a job, not in real estate.
No one would hire him. He got a job as a laborer on a construction site, hard physical work. He wakes up at 4 a.m., he carries bricks, he mixes cement. His hands, which used to be manicured, are now calloused and rough, just like mine used to be. He lives in a tiny studio apartment on the bad side of town. He takes the bus to work. It breaks my mother's heart to know he is struggling. I worry about him every night. I wonder if he has enough to eat. But last week, I received a letter in the mail. There was no return address. The handwriting was messy. I opened it with trembling hands. It wasn't a request for money. It wasn't a guilt trip. It read, "Mom, I'm sorry. I know those words don't mean much after what I did, but I have to say them. My back hurts every day. I'm tired. I'm eating ramen noodles for dinner. But yesterday, I helped build a wall for a new school, and when I looked at it, I felt proud. I actually built something. I think I finally understand what you went through to raise me. I understand the value of $1 now. I understand that respect isn't something you buy, it's something you earn. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying. I hope one day, when I've paid my debts and fixed myself, I can stand in front of you and Elias and look you in the eye. I love you. Darius." I folded the letter and pressed it to my chest. I cried, but this time they were happy tears. My son is poor, honey. But for the first time in his life, he is becoming rich in the things that matter. I put the letter in my Bible. I haven't called him yet. I will when the time is right. But for now, I'm letting him walk his path. I'm letting him become the man he was always meant to be. That is where my story comes to an end. We all want to give our children the world. That sometimes the greatest gift we can give them is the struggle, because it is in the struggle that we find our strength. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story resonated with your soul, if you've ever had to practice tough love, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to this old woman. I wish you peace in your heart and strength in your spirit. Until we meet again.